Hello, my name is Daniel Williams, and I did Blood in the Mobile. Alright, so in the Democratic Republic of Congo, there's a civil war that's been going on for the last 15 years now. About 5 million people have been killed. About 300,000 women have been raped. I mean, it's really bad stuff. It's crazy. Minerals that have been mined there, minerals that are being mined there are vital for cell phones and other technologies such as laptops, and they're actually financing ongoing civil war. Alright, Nokia was the focus corporation for this documentary because Nokia was the largest phone corporation during the time of this documentary. But they're actually the second largest now as of 2012. Samsung surpassed them then. They were actually renowned for their social responsibility, but documentary Frank Paulson, once he got down to it, he didn't really think so anymore. Because Nokia has known about the conflict diamonds for about 10 years now. They haven't really done too much to stop it either. I mean, they're not really looking, are they using conflict diamonds? They're not going really deep into it. Nokia's executives actually refused to comment on minerals coming from the Congo when he first met with them. So he decided to go to the Congo itself so that he could see where they're coming from and see how they're mined and see if they're actually being used in our cell phones or not. Alright, so these are the minerals that are being used in cell phone technology. They're not the only minerals that are being mined there. They're just two of many. But cassiterite and coltan short for columbite, tantalite, these are the main minerals that are being used in cell phone technology. These are being mined in the raw form, and then they're being sent off to other countries like Burundi, Rwanda, and Uganda to be refined and to go into the next step of the process. When Frank first arrived in the Congo, he had to speak with some of the officials from the Ministry of Mining. The first officials he met with, his name was Mr. Kampa Kampa. He's one of the high-ranking leaders in the Ministry of Mining. It turns out, when he first got there, Mr. Kampa Kampa was just explaining to him, about the minerals that are being mined, the cassiterite and coltan, how they're being extracted. They're essentially using slave labor. And telling him, he explained where they went after they've been mined, and who's benefiting from it. And actually, during the interview, Mr. Kampa actually admitted to not only being a part of the Ministry of Mining, which is a public service job, but he also owns a private business that helps foreign mining corporations obtain mining licenses through the ministry. Frank actually asked him why is he doing this, because where he's from, which is Denmark, it would be illegal. Mr. Kampa can't really give an answer. He says, I'm a scientist, I'm a businessman. That's political, and I'm not a politician. So it just proves that, if there are laws against this, they can't currently be enforced. Alright, since Mr. Kampa told him that most of the minerals are being mined in specifically Kivu, northern Kivu, even more specifically than that, but it's in eastern Congo. And he told him, so he eventually made his way down and got to Goma, northern Kivu. Northern Kivu is this red spot right there. Significant. There's it borders significantly Rwanda, Burundi, and Uganda. That's significant because when the minerals are mined, they're being sent off to these countries and they're being refined there, so they're making a lot of money off this too. And okay, so in northern Kivu, there's actually tons of UN troops. During the time of this documentary, there was more UN troops in northern Kivu than anywhere in the world, but they're there as protectors and peacekeepers only. They're everywhere in major cities and towns, but they're only meant to protect citizens, so they don't go out normally, and if they do, they only use the main roads. Yes, they're not there to fight the war for them, they're just there to protect. Frank also had an interview there with UN Major Rahman, who explained to him, what are the main mining camps. He explained that there's hundreds of these camps all being controlled by different groups at different times because they're constantly fighting over them. He explained that there's massacres throughout these camps. He explained that in the Wali Kali region there are two camps that are pretty big, but BZ is the biggest of them all. Currently, it grosses about $70 million in mineral, produces $70 million in minerals a year. And when Frank actually asked him about the armed groups in Wali Kali, strangely enough, Major Rahman seemed to be a bit nervous, and he never did answer the question. He said he couldn't comment on the armed groups. He could only tell him about the extraction of the minerals from these sites, which leads me to believe that there's some power issues in the Congo. Alright, so Frank eventually made his way to Wali Kali, where is actually is where everyone congregates and brings the minerals that they mined in BZ. It's far away from the actual mine though. The miners actually have to travel 90 kilometers, which is equivalent to 56 miles, and carried with 110 pounds on their back. And they make this journey in 2 days, so they can get paid. So when they come to Wali Kali, they drop off their minerals, and then they're paid based on how much they have, and then they go back. The BZ mining camp is actually currently controlled by the FDRC, which is a unit of the Congolese army, and the national army is actually acting like the armed groups. So it's pretty corrupt. A lot of the high-ranking officials are making tons of money off of it because what they do is, a lot of people are lured there by the hopes and dreams of making a lot of money, and that would be true, but due to when they get there, they find out that's not what they thought it was, because the national army is actually making them pay to leave and enter BZ. So when they leave after gathering a lot of minerals, they have to pay a fine and then pay something, and then when they make that 2-day journey and then come back after being paid, they have to pay again to get back into the camp. And not only that, but the National Army has actually imposed really harsh taxes throughout the entire mining camp, so it's very difficult to make any money at all. So the people who actually come here are essentially trapped because they come here from all over, far away, and they never have enough money to leave. So it's technically not slavery, but it's essentially slavery. Alright, so these are just some more pictures of the BZ mining camp. This doesn't really do it justice. It's crowded, it's packed. In the documentary, it showed just how cramped their living conditions are and how rudimentary they are. And also, this is in the mines, but in the documentary, it showed them going down into the mine. These mines go down for 100 meters, so they're really deep down there. And there's hundreds of people in there in these tight crevices. They're back to back. There's barely any room to move around at all, and it's really hot. There's some of the people are actually staying out for a week or more because it takes so long to get down there, or as it is, that they just stay until they have tons of minerals, and then they come back up. Alright, so these are some of the armed groups that were mentioned in the documentary, and some I added because they're kind of big. But there's dozens of these. They don't even really know how many there are. I don't really know how many there are. Well, you got the Mai Mai militia, the FDLR. M23 is actually recent. It came about in 2012. But what's significant about this one is it's backed by Rwanda. Rwanda's given them food, money, heavy weapons, and even troops sometimes. They currently have a small contingent of about 1,000 men, but they're pretty dangerous because they're backed by Rwanda. So they gained a lot of momentum pretty quickly. And then you got the CNDP, the Allied Democratic Forces, Coalition of Congolese Patriotic Resistance, and the Lord's Army Resistance Army, the LRA, which is actually led by Joseph Kony when he was alive. But I mean, they're a lot smaller than they used to be, but they're still around 200 to 700 men, and so they're still a threat. All right, so when Frank left the Congo, he arrived back in Europe, and he met with more Nokia officials, executives really, who were more forthcoming about information this time. With the one he's talking to all different kinds, so some of them are telling him more than the others. But they claim to be doing everything that they can, but that's not really true. One of the executives actually said that it's difficult for them to track where these minerals come from. They're trying, but they're not. But then Frank actually traveled to Hanover, Germany, and met with some of the scientists there to see how hard, or if they even could, trace where these minerals come from and figure out if these are conflict minerals or not. And they actually found out that they could trace where they came from. So I mean, it's not being done, probably because it's just cheaper to not know where they came from. All right, so the U.S. has actually had some involvement with the Congo. For example, in the documentary, Frank met with Republican Jim McDermott, who initiated a bill regarding the Congo, which basically said that the companies had to annually publish where their suppliers are coming from, so they make sure that they are not from conflict diamonds. So it's a way to control it. I actually looked this up because I was very curious about this. I had a really hard time finding any information about it. I wasn't really able to find much. I don't know if it passed. I don't know if it's still trying to pass. I don't know if it's a dead bill now or what. It was really difficult for me to find anything on it. Alright, and currently there's no mobile phone out there that can claim to be conflict mineral free. It's the way it is right now. Any questions?